Hello there. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly, and tonight I have a two-page layout for you that focuses on contrasting elements that make your scrapbook photos pop. You see before you this gorgeous collection of marbled papers. These are from a brand new suite that dropped yesterday called Marbled Elegance. Gold foil embedded papers with different gold foil patterns and marbled patterns on each page with different more toned down patterns on the back of variety of pinks and reds. It's an absolute gorgeous collection, and the reason that you're seeing it is this is what I originally thought I was going to create my two-page layout out of. So I view this as our Valentine's series. I know that it just dropped, but I feel like it's featuring Valentine's. It has Hearts of Elegance stamps and die that comes in the Sweet collection, or you can purchase those separately. It has all different kinds of hearts that you can layer on top of each other. It has a flower and a couple different leaves, and several of the hearts have coordinating stamps or embedded dies in them. Now, with this product drop, we also have something that's my personal favorite called the Adoring Hearts Hybrid Embossing Folder. So there is a stamp and die set, but there is this great 3D embossing folder that fits the die right inside, and it embosses and cuts at the same time. And I love the negative piece. So I really love using a lot of different overlays and backgrounds, and I love the embossed negative piece in the background, and I love, love, love the embossed hearts. You could also do some inking on the embossing folder and actually ink some of your pieces at the same time that you emboss and stamp and die. Look at the detail on those. Now, I have some photos here that will seem not very likely to go with hearts or very likely to go with Valentine's. This is Waylon James, my youngest grandson. He and I went to Pierce, South Dakota last Saturday to the museum, the science museum there. Now, I've taken tons of my grandkids to the Children's Museum in Brookings, South Dakota, but I've never taken any grandchildren to the Science Museum in Pierre. And he was playing in the play kitchen, and he was taking it seriously. He put on the little chef's hat, and he was great. We had an absolute good time. Now, I have never shied away from scrapbooking Waylon James using hearts. This was last year's Close to My Heart Valentine series, and I created this adorable layout with him playing peekaboo in a red shirt using that last year's Valentine collection. So I thought, why not do something a little non-traditional with a Valentine's collection or bits and pieces from the Valentine collection, and scrapbook Waylon James this year using hearts as well. So you see some pattern papers here. I have just a few pattern papers left from the Country Lace collection and a few pattern papers left from the Country Woods collection. And it reminds me of blue jeans. I felt like all Waylon's blue jeans and some of the paint in the background in the kitchen would go really well with the Country Lace and the Country Woods DSP, and this is still available on the shop site as well. So I've created some 1 1/4 by 12-inch strips, 4 different patterns and 4 strips on each side, and I'm going to actually center those in the center of another one of the Country Lace papers that has just a kind of a little really light leaf wash in the background, and I thought that might work really well. Now, this pattern paper here reminds me of blue jeans. I love it so much, and I have a 2 1/4 by 9-inch times 4. So 4 of those in a very basic traditional background with these longer strips. And then I want to use a couple of the negative pieces from the stamp the Adoring Hearts embossing folder. So, and I don't know if you can completely see it on camera or not, but the embossing is raised in the midst of those hearts, and I absolutely love it. And it just reminds me of, sometimes I'll use little Cricut overlays or little embossing folder pieces as texture in the background of a layout and as just an interesting background element. And I really love it, just that whole piece in the background. You could distress it, you could tear it, you could do a lot of things. But I also want to do a little background stamping, and this stamping isn't going to show the whole words, aren't going to show just little bits and pieces. So I'm going to grab one of the coordinating colors, which is, here I go again. Oh my gosh, not Night of Navy, but Misty Moonlight. And I'm doing second generation, or as Stampin' Up! People call it, stamping off. And so I'm going to stamp off on scrap paper and then stamp on, and I'm just going to make a little bit of a, in, out, out, in design. And it's not going to show. Not a lot of it is going to show. Actually, you're going to be able to fill in the blank with your brain. You're going to know that it says love you, but only very bits and pieces of the edges of the letters is going to show when we get done. Then I'm going to mount all the strips flush, starting at 2.5 inches, 3.5 inches in, because each piece is 1.25 inches. So 3.5 inches in, when you have 1.25 times 4, is going to be an even 3.5 inches on both sides. And so I'm going to put those flush, and then I'm actually going to add the 2.25 by 9-inch piece flush against that. And that's going to be that blue jean base. And it just totally reminds me of Waylon James and his little blue jeans. And there's a lot of blue in the background of those photos. So he has the little red buffalo plaid jacket on, and then he has the red chef's hat. There's some red walls in the back, but there's also a lot of blue, black, even yellow. And I really think that by using this blue background in the country lace in the country woods, it's going to make the reds in his buffalo plaid jacket and the chef's hat absolutely pop. And that's my goal, is to make those photos pop, because he's adorable, even if I say so myself. So now I'm going to grab the My Heart Belongs to You from Hearts of Elegance, and I'm going to do the same thing more toward the upper right, stamping off or doing second generation with the Misty Moonlight ink. And again, hardly any of that is going to show when the layout is done, but it's just to add another element of interest and texture in the background. And so I'm going to repeat my performance with those strips and put those the same distances on the left page. And then I'm going to add that negative piece from the Adoring Hearts hybrid embossing folder. I have fallen in love with Stampin' Up's hybrid embossing folders. So they have a Changing Leaves hybrid embossing folder and a couple other embossing folders that are hybrid that I absolutely love, because they cut, they emboss. You can even do inking at the same time. And they're just very, very interesting and unique pieces that you get out of the hybrid embossing folders. And the embossing folders give so much depth to your pieces because they're 3D. So I'm just taking a black lip pen around the edges of what I'm calling the blue jean piece, because it reminds me of blue jeans, and I'm adding a few random scribbles in different places. Once I get the embellishments and the pieces on the page, you'll find that some of those are covered up. So I'm also going to add a little interest. I wanted to create some Polaroids out of some of those. I wanted to back some of the photos with pattern paper, and I wanted to leave some of those just with a white border. So I have 6 3x3 photos. I have one of those photos that just has 3 1/8 by 3 1/8 around it. All of them actually have white borders. So the ones that are 3x3, so there are 3 of them, They're all 3 by 3, but the ones that aren't Polaroids, excuse me, have 3 1/8 by 3 1/8 photo mats around them. The ones that are Polaroids have a 3 let me double check this. 3 1/8 by, I believe it's 4, and let me double check that. 3 1/8 by 4, yes, is the white portion to create the Polaroid. And then I have 3 3 3 by 4 1/4 for the Misty Moonlight background. So the two Polaroids have those sizes around them, just to create a little bit of interest, having some Polaroid, have some just regularly photo mat with a regular photo mat, and then some that have a pattern paper photo mat around them for a little bit of interest. Now there is all of these different hearts in the Hearts of Elegance. There's also all of the hearts that I got out of the Adoring Hearts hybrid embossing folder. So I put a 6 by 6 piece of white in the hybrid embossing folder with the die twice to get the two backgrounds that you see, the two negative pieces. And then of course I got all the white interior. Then I did it again with a 6 by 6 Misty Moonlight and got all of those hearts out of the middle that were all embossed. And the detail is incredible. I also used the hearts from the Hearts of Elegance and created a variety, like a large regular heart, a large stitched heart, the one heart that has the designs on it. And there's also some little leaves in this set as well. And I feel like I can stamp some of those leaves on white and some of those leaves on Misty Moonlight cardstock, and I'm going to stamp them in Misty Moonlight regular strength. And I think we can add those to some heart clusters and it's going to be great. I also took, there is a piece in the Hearts of Elegance, or excuse me, in the Adoring Hearts that has 4 hearts in one strip so that you don't have to put little hearts through the die cutter over and over. And I love it when they give us multiple dies on one so that we don't have to roll it through the die cutter over and over. And I just actually use the negative space from that and fussy cut it to put it at the bottom of the one Polaroid on the left page. Now I found a couple random pieces of ephemera from the Say Something ephemera sayings, and I'm going to use that as the title, and it just says today. So now I'm going to fuss around a little bit and arrange the photos on the right as well. So I want it to be balanced so that a lot of those patterns are showing through that negative heart piece in the back, and that the white part of the Polaroid on both the left and the right pages has enough showing on it so that I can do my journaling on it. I really want to talk about Waylon James. So the Science Museum in Pierre is, and this is in South Dakota. If you're not familiar, if you are from South Dakota, you can check it out. But the Science Museum in Pierre has a lot to do with building and engineering and obviously science. So it has like Legos and building blocks and dinosaur bones that you, foam dinosaur bones that you put together to build a dinosaur. It has beehives so that you can look at beehives. It has soil things. It has different mechanical things that, use gravity. So it has different colored sand and balls that go down in different directions. But then it also has the play kitchen and a play veterinarian station and a play store. And I tell you, Waylon James is so enthusiastic about every single thing that he does. He gets so excited and into it. He played and played and played in all of the different stations. And I'm telling you, for a grandma that's a scrapper, he gave me so many photo opportunities. I can't wait to do a layout and show you all of the veterinary series. Oh my goodness, his mom is a vet tech, my daughter-in-law. And so he loves animals, and he was giving them shots, and he was taking their blood pressure, and he was bathing them and brushing them. And it's just a neat little place, and it's very, very inexpensive to go to. I think to get him in was maybe $3 or $5. And I mean, he could have spent all day in there. So now I'm just envisioning a trail of hearts going kind of all the way down and through some of his photos, and then adding some of the leaves from the Hearts of Elegance in that. So repetitive. Like, I'm really not using much of anything. I don't have any stickers. It's hearts, 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 hearts. And it's using unlikely things. So he's a boy, he's very masculine, he's very outdoorsy, but just like with last year's hearts, I filled his pages with hearts, and I was extremely happy. It didn't bother me one bit to be using hearts on a boy page, and I absolutely love the dimension and the just the patterns on the hearts. They have different leaf patterns and floral patterns and heart patterns on the hearts. And I think it makes for lots of added interest. And I'm super happy with the contrast. And I love using really bright colors with black and white photos, or black and white backgrounds, or monochromatic backgrounds with really bright photos. And I really feel like it makes those photos totally stand out and pop. There is no way you can miss the photos on this monochromatic background. With all of the blues in the background and all of the reds in the photos, they absolutely pop. So now that I feel like I have my bits and pieces where I want them, I'm going to go back and adhere them down. I definitely want to add my journaling and talk about how he takes his play seriously. He's so good-natured, and I think he is an only child, but he goes to daycare, but I think he's used to play pretend. You know, he plays for hours and hours and hours with his farm and his farm animals and his trucks. And I always think, oh my gosh, he has to get sick of those. But he builds these elaborate, like, pens and walkways with the magnet tiles, and he does all of that and plays for hours. So he has a very busy imagination, and he absolutely loved the kitchen. He made me pizza, and I love watching his brain work. So the photos over on the right, he's looking up, and even though it's for children, they have those pans like up really high. And I was just watching the wheels turn, and he started to kind of tippy toe and reach, and he had a very specific pot that he wanted, and he was making something very specific with that pot, and it had a matching lid. And then he went into the veterinary station, and he grabbed a stool, and he got up on the stool, grabbed the pot that he wanted, turned on the pretend burner on the stove. I thought that was pretty good. He's 3 years old. He turned 3 a couple weeks ago, and he's so much fun. He is my youngest and probably my last of 8 grandchildren. So you do probably see way too many layouts of him, but my time will be short. I know how fast it will go because the oldest grandchild is 20 now. So I am taking full advantage of every scrapbook layout I can of Waylon James, because he will not be little for long. So I'm adding all the hearts. I've decided to pop up some of those with foam dimensionals, some of those leaves, some of those flush, and add the random leaves in different places just to make some very interesting clusters. It's repetitive, It's over and over, the same elements over and over, but putting some of them up, putting some of them down, clustering 2 in some clusters, 3 in some clusters, making sure that I use different patterns in different clusters, and then adding those stamped leaves in there, and then adding that on top of the stamped background. And I think there's plenty of texture. There's plenty of dimension with the negative emboss piece in the background and all the embossing that's on all the bits. And then I also have stamping in the background as well. And I'm super happy with that. So I'm going to adhere today with my favorite friend, my fine tip glue. It is from Stampin' Up, and it's a fine tip glue pen, and I have loved it. I have used it and used it and used it, and it doesn't get clogged. Even if I leave it open for a while, it might get like a little ball on the end that I just kind of pull off, but the tube doesn't get clogged. And I've had adhesives with fine tips on them in the past that I've been so frustrated with because they get clogged, and then I have to use a piercing tool or something and poke it down in there, or I just can't simply get the glue out anymore. And I do love this. I have used it over and over and over on fine pieces. So now I'm going to move over to the right page and find a balance. And I have on the left page and on the right page 1 photo popped, 2 photos flush, 1 photo popped, and I've chosen to pop the large Polaroid. Not large, it's the same size. It's a 3x3, but the Polaroid in the front, I've opted to pop that one up with foam tape. And I think that's another way to add dimension, is just popping up your photos, or 1 photo. Leave some of them flush and pop 1 up. And so I'm loving it so far. I'm really happy with the country lace and the country woods. In fact, I can't even believe there's any of it left. The color scheme in it is one of my all-time favorites, and it does have some feminine qualities. There's a floral in there, but it also just has leaves and stripes and the denim, and it also has some different colors. It has some petal pink in it as well. It has some gray tones in it as well. I've only pulled out the blue tones, but it's perfect for anything blue jean, anything that you have that has a country vibe, a blue jean vibe. And there's actually a birdhouse stamp and die that I believe everyone that I've known has used with this. And it's really, really pretty and rustic. I absolutely love that set. I'm getting there. It's taking me a minute to get my little clusters going. The country birdhouse dies and the country birdhouse stamp, and then also the tea. There's a tea set called Country Flowers, went with both the Country Woods and the Country Lace collection. The Country Woods has been used a lot with beach. So it has a real beachy vibe. The wood grain, it has a multicolored wood grain. So I've actually gotten so much use out of it because there's so many pieces, and I've loved combining Country Woods with Country Lace. I think it's a perfect combination. All right, I am getting there. So I'm popping this one up on foam tape. I popped a couple up on the other page up with foam tape as well. Not a lot of heavy lifting in this layout, super easy, and comes together super easy. It's just repeat, repeat, repeat with your hearts. And I feel like I've done the Hearts of Elegance justice in terms of using the larger hearts and the Adoring Hearts hybrid. I have gotten so much use out of those hearts. There would be so many pretty layouts that you could do with this, and it would be absolutely gorgeous with Marbled Elegance. And I'm definitely going to do some elevated layouts with Marbled Elegance and add gold accents. I mean, I just have to. It's absolutely gorgeous. gorgeous. But for this particular one, I felt the country vibe was great. So this was last Saturday, and we actually went to the Capitol in Pier to see the ducks and the fish on the same day. So Grandma got tons of photo ops that day, all of the different stations in the Science Museum, and then tons and tons of photos of Waylon James with the ducks at the Capitol. Now, of course, I wanted to add a few masculine dots, and my favorite are these adhesive back texture dots. I used them. I used them on all kinds of masculine layouts. I used them on my Take to the Sky workshop. It was perfect for the airplanes, and I really love just adding that contrast. So I feel like the contrast in the metal gems with the rustic country blues in the background and the bright red in the photos, the contrast says it all and makes the photos pop. If you've enjoyed today's video, won't you please hit like, subscribe, the notifications bell, and shoot me a comment. Your comments keep me going and keep me inspired to keep the videos coming on YouTube. Thanks so much for hanging with me, and happy scrapping. See you soon. Bye-bye.